Today we're doing a run through of how to run a hair salon or a spa or any beauty salon. So we're gonna do everything. I wanted to name this from a hairstylist or anything beauty wise to a business owner because there are a lot of things you should be doing. Um, and then today we're going to go step by step. I try to talk a little bit about marketing, customer service, and financials today. I want to start by talking to people who are already in the beauty industry, but you're feeling a little overwhelmed because maybe you did not sign up to also become a business owner. Just to, I normally like to call people in the beauty industry an artist. So people go into the beauty industry because they are an artist. And sometimes artists don't like spreadsheets, they don't like customer service, they don't like sales, they don't like managing people. But when you sign up for something like owning a salon or owning a spa, you're stuck with that. So you have to not only be a technician that does your craft, but you also need to be a business owner. So today we're going to talk about how we can help you run a business and not just run a job, which I think is where a lot of people are stuck nowadays. They open a business and all they're doing is getting a little more money than they would if they were working for somebody else. Or in some cases, we've helped salon owners who actually make less than they would make if they were working for someone else because the expenses really do add up. So we're going to help you create systems and understand a little bit of your numbers. Um, we like to start with the basics. So if you haven't already, you need to register your business. This is going to help you save in taxes. This is going to help you organize, especially if you own a business in the beauty industry. You probably know your services alone are not going to help you pay bills. You need to sell products and other things. And when you start selling beauty products, you need to keep track of sales taxes. So there are some businesses that you can get away with bookkeeping and other things, but in the beauty industry, as soon as you open, you normally already have part of your business being retail. So it's really important that you establish that business from start. And a lot of people, they end up getting stuck with being a DBA or an LLC, and they did not check to see what other business structures they could switch to diminish how much taxes they're paying. Or what's worse, they don't track sales taxes. So if you own a salon and you did not register your business properly, if you're not already in connection with an accountant, if you guys need a referral, I'm sure Kelly, people in some of you probably have some amazing accountants or anyone that can help you guys set that up. Even if you open a DBA, but you still need to understand how to properly send in your sales tax, which normally you do that quarterly. That's really important. So I always tell people in the beauty industry, you guys are a little different in that way. Like you can't delay doing this right from the beginning because you can get stuck with fines and fees from the IRS for not filing your sales taxes as soon as you start selling products, or worse, you don't charge your clients for sales taxes. So the first place that you want to start is you're not just a hairstylist charging your clients. If you're selling them a shampoo or hairspray, you need to pass along that sales tax and keep track. So register your business, get your city license, get all your certification, find out what is important for you. And I think that in some of you, they can't have a home business, right? I think that's the current regulation. So you need to have, I think you need to check your zoning. And I think in some of you, you're going to need to have your own place. So that's really important for you to get that proper business started. And then you're going to have to get some tools in place. You need to separate your accounts. So get a bank account. And I think in the beauty industry, I think Amanda's here, and she probably heard me say this before. It's important maybe to get two bank accounts, maybe get a checking account and a savings account, a place that you can put that sales tax aside. I was just meeting with Touched by Rose, which is a client of the City of Somerville program. And she was just telling me because she was so overwhelmed about selling products. And she said, "Oh, do you have any software that they send my money directly to Massachusetts, so to the IRS?" And I said, "Unfortunately, that would be great if we had that, but no, you need to file your own sales taxes. So when you get that money from a client, check to see, are they paying for beauty services? Are they purchasing products? And how much of that do I need to separate to send? Because it's not my money, it's sales tax I collected to send to the government later on. So it's going to be really, really easy if you have two bank accounts, because life gets busy. So if you stop at least once a month and you can separate that money, normally if you're doing your sales taxes quarterly, it's easier for tax filing. It also helps you get a profit view. A lot of people have a hard time understanding what's really their money. So sometimes you can even use that savings account. So if you open a business checking and savings, you can use that savings account as a place that you just set aside the profit for your business with that sales tax. So you know that that money is yours and that your business is actually not only paying the bills, but you also getting some profit for that. Then you want to track things. You want to establish a proper bookkeeping organization. I think that you don't need to overcomplicate here. You could get a software as far as QuickBooks. I'm gonna give you a spreadsheet today that you can start using for your business to track that. But all you need to do is, how much money did I get in? How much am I spending for my fixed costs, my variable costs? We're going to get deep into these in a few minutes, but tracking things is very important. If you're not doing that already, you should be doing that. And then selecting the right tools, right? I think Amanda uses Vagato. Vagato is a very nice software. It keeps track of your sales taxes, your commissions. You have other softwares like Trinks, Booksy, but selecting a good software is really, really good. And I always tell my clients, get one day off for you to be a business owner, because you're going to need that day. You can't just book yourself throughout the week and not have a day off. I think a lot of clients, they like either Monday or Tuesday to be that admin day. It's a day that you sit down, you get your receipts, you check everything, you look at the week, you see how things are. Maybe you do a little marketing if you don't already have the resources for a front desk, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, how to do that properly. But getting that done from the beginning is really, really helpful. And then let's talk a little about how to understand, right, the performance of your business. I think Kelly is probably tired of looking at my pizza example. I think if Kelly opens a business, she's going to do so well because she's seen this over and over again. But basically, I can't emphasize enough how important understanding your numbers are. You need to understand your numbers, because if you don't, you're not going to price correctly. You're not going to make money for all the effort and the work. I think when I go into a business, I think the saddest thing that I see is when I look at someone overworked, stressed, like she can't even put in more hours and she's still not making money. And normally the reason why you're not making money is because you don't get this. You don't understand how a profit and loss works in a business. You can't balance this out, and this is going to affect everything in your business. So if there's one thing you artists need to understand, is how to read a profit and loss. So basically everything in your business works kind of like a pizza. When money comes in, it looks really good, it looks really full, but it's very temporary, because your pizza is gonna be taken by two main sources: your variable cost and your fixed costs, or your fixed expenses. So if your accountant is not providing one of these for you every month, talk to them. And that's very, very customary. A lot of accountants don't provide a profit and loss to clients. I'm going to be very honest with you guys. I'm a business consultant. My clients get a lot of great results. And I don't attribute that at my work. That's all you guys. The only thing I do is I show you guys reports and I just tell you where to go because you're so smart. You're such good entrepreneurs. If you're looking at the numbers, I know that you're going to make changes. The main problem I see in businesses is they don't know. I asked them, do you know what your income was last June? Do you know if the income you made this month is enough? And they don't even know what they made last June. So, one very simple thing to organize how much income is coming in. Is this good? Is this bad? Is this enough? Is how much did you make June last year? If I made $20,000 June last year, $5,000, how much did I make June this year? Because if you're at least not making 5% more, you're not even keeping up with inflation because things went up, your products went up. So the first thing you do in a profit and loss is you analyze your income. Am I selling enough? I always tell business owners as well, our time is so limited. How do you know which area of your business you should be spending more time? If you look at your profit and loss, it's going to tell you. If you look at income from this year and last year and you're not making enough, you want to spend time in sales and marketing. But let's say income looks great. I made 5,000 last June. This June, I'm making 7,000. So that means I don't have to spend as much time in marketing and sales. I can move on to other things. So first thing you need for your business is you need to look at your profit and loss monthly and you need to have goals. What are your first goals? Your income goals. How much am I supposed to make this month? More than you made last year, the same month. Big mistake people make, they only look at this yearly. It's too late because I'll give you a big example. Let's say this June was not good and you can access that and see it right away. You're going to go full force into July and be like, I need to make something happen. I need to call clients. I need to bring more people in because my numbers were not good. You fix it in time. I can't tell you out of the over 600 business we've helped, how many people only look at their profit and loss once a year. And then they look at it and they're like, oh my God, last year I made $100,000 more, $20,000, $3,000 more. I lost track this year, but now the year is over. It's too late to fix it. So you need to look at it every single month, at least. Just so you guys know how important this is in corporate, which is where I got a lot of my experience. We saw something like this every day because they wanted us to make changes as soon as possible. And this is why a lot of corporations are more successful. They're not doing anything much different than what every single small business owner does. They just look at numbers more often. So just by looking at your income, you're already going to be able to do so much for your business. After you get your income goals, you need to get your expenses goals. So for example, let's look at your variable cost or your cost of goods sold. It's important to know what this means. So variable cost or cost of goods sold means the amount of money you're spending on labor and service material. So the material that you're buying for service and for retail as well. So you're going to buy, we call it back bar products and retail products. How much money are you spending on these goods that you're selling? It's important to understand because, and I think I have a lot of problem with the beauty industry because you guys are like artists, right? And you can get carried away a lot. Like my clients, they want to get the most beautiful salon, so they want to spend so much in decoration. They want to get the best product out there, and these companies, they're doing a lot of marketing, right, to get your attention. But you need to have a set goal. Like, can I spend out of my pizza how many slices for my labor and my material? If you don't have a goal, you may be doing so well in income. Maybe you're making so much more, but you got carried away in your product line and now you're spending a lot more than you needed to. Yes, when we open a business, we're going to put our own money in there. We're going to invest money. We're going to get funds. We're going to make loans. But it comes a time And I normally tell my clients as soon as possible that a business needs to be sustainable, which means, and I'm gonna show you guys. I have the beauty industry benchmark here. I This is a new software I'm using for slides. I try to put it in there and I could not for the life of me put it in there. But I have a benchmark for the beauty industry that I'll open for you guys. But for example, Fernanda, I don't know what goal I should have for cost of goods sold. Let's look at the industry, right? So this is the beauty industry. So we have about 1 million businesses here. So these businesses are hair salon, some beauty spas. I do have a separate one for specifically spas that I'll show you guys in a second, but you guys are going to see it's very similar. So out of the 1 million businesses in America, the profit margin is 7.1. I always like to show this because what this really means is this is how many slices are left after you pay everything. This is a big alert for the beauty industry. It's not that easy to make a profit. And I think it's a very beautiful industry. So we see these very nice looking salons, spas, and we tend to look, this is so easy to do. It's actually not. And this is coming from a million of other businesses. And this is the profit margin on the upper end, because when we look and we have a pizza of all these companies here, and when we look at the overall pizza to see how much should I be setting aside for cost of goods sold, how much am I setting aside for fixed expense? Well, let's look at the industry and see what's in there. So when we look, and just so you have an idea, there's 625 of these 1 million business are in Massachusetts alone. And I have worked with a lot of clients in the beauty industry. It's very similar in Massachusetts because I've seen a lot of profit and losses in Massachusetts, very similar to the national average. So look at the names, right? Very similar from what I wrote on the pizza, your revenue. So I like to look at the past 10 years. So in the past 10 years in the beauty industry, out of the 100% pizza, right? So every source of money we had come into our business, they spent about 50 to 30% in labor and material. What that means is, and I always like to look at the last year I have on the report and the past 10 years. What that means is when you're looking at your profit and loss, let's say you don't have a goal right now, right? And you're trying to set your own goals, the best way to do that is I like to do two things. I like to look at the national average, and you can access reports like this. Now we have AI, right? So powerful. You could ask AI and it pull out. I mean, we consultants sometimes we have to purchase reports like these benchmarks. Um, but if you don't have a goal, at least keep a goal below the benchmark. But sometimes if you take your own profit and loss for the past 2 years, right? And all they did here is they turned numbers into pizza slices, right? So they took the numbers and they basically turned them into percentages. So let's say if you spent $20,000 last year in products and labor, you divide that by your income and you're going to get a decimal or a percentage. That's your goal. If you are below the national average, stay with your goal. Let's say you were able to have a salon, a spa, and you're only spending about 40%. That's your goal. Let's stay at that mark for this year. But if you did 60, if you did 65, then go to the national average at least, so that every month when you close your profit and loss, look at that. You have to stay at 50%. Did you spend more? Then that means maybe we try to stay below next month. Or vice versa. Let's say you had an amazing month. You really found those beauty industry material deals. Your team was very, very productive and you stayed below for labor. That's amazing. Maybe this month you can splurge a little bit. But the business has to work within its own parameters. Otherwise, you're going to spend more than you should, and that's going to hurt you later on. And I think we love our business so much, we get carried away. Like, trust me, I have my own goals, and one of my splurges, right? One of the areas that I go out of control are softwares, because I work with processes and efficiency. So my husband helps me keep track of my profit and loss. So he works in finance department here. So a lot of times he's telling me, you need to stop with the subscription right now because you're supposed to stay here and you went above. So having boundaries help us because we want our clients to have the best. We want our business to have the best. But if we're not sustaining this, our business is going to die. It's going to hurt clients. It's going to hurt our team members. So it's important to have that set goal for cost of goods sold. And then we have fixed expenses, everything that's not product material, retail material, labor, and some very small other things that go into cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold is very limited because the IRS, and this is very important information for you guys, the IRS will give you 100% deduction for anything that's cost of goods sold. So it can't be what we want. It has to be set by the IRS, which means you can, for example, assign marketing as a cost of goods sold. Marketing is going to go under fixed expense. So anything that's not labor, material, back bar, or retail products, it's going to be considered a fixed expense, which means your break room supplies for you to provide coffee and water for your client, your accountant, your consultant, your marketing, digital marketing, your front desk. So anything else that's not beauty labor and beauty products is going to be a fixed expense. Let's see what the national average is for fixed expense. I really love looking at this graph because I think it gives also permission to spend, because I also see business sometimes that they're really frugal, right? They're not spending anywhere, and then the owner is working 100 hours. Like, you can spend about 15% on salaries and wages, and salaries and wages here are going to be your front desk because your beauty commissions are going to be in cost of goods sold. So if you're struggling, you can't keep up with your schedule, and you have about 15% of your income, you could be spending in hiring your front desk or hiring someone to help you with marketing. So it's important to look at these averages because they also guide us on how much we should be spending. Because I'll give you an example. Maybe you're not making enough income because you're supposed to be spending about 2% in marketing and advertisement, and you're not. So this also tells you a limit on how much you should spend, but it also tells you you should be spending this money here. And if you're not, eventually you have to. Because in the beginning, let's be honest, we're doing everything. So you basically, you're doing all of this. You make the coffee, you're doing the hair, you're selling the products, you're doing digital marketing, but eventually you can assign a piece of your pizza to pay for all of this. So in this graph, I'm going to do the math here. If you have 100%, let's say you're spending about 50% in your cost of goods sold, and you're trying to aim at least for that 7 to 8% profit that we saw as the higher portion of profit. You want to spend about less than 42% with fixed expense. And I always tell my clients, maybe let's take another 7% out of there just so we can have a little wiggle room for our taxes. So let's aim for something between 35 to 40% max here, or look at your previous year and try to go below. But this is really the national average. So in the past 10 years, most of these hair salons and spas and nails places, they had 2.5% in profit. And I can attest to this because I've helped a lot of companies, and their profit were right about here. Companies in Somerville, in Medford, in so many areas that could be doing so much better. And when we look at why this was not working, it had to do with I never seen my profit and loss. I don't even know where I am. So it's we're trying to get to 7% or above because that's even in the higher end. But if you don't pay attention, you could end up struggling like most of these businesses are. Does that make sense? Anybody has any questions about this part? I'm gonna just open the one for spas here in a second as you guys are thinking. Am I going too fast? Let me know. All right, so for spas specifically, then the profit margin is very similar. You're going to look at the profit and loss. If you wanted to look at the profit and loss, I won't, but it's very, very similar. So both industries have very similar cost for products, cost for labor. Commission will go 30 to 50% depending on the professional. And I think another piece of advice is don't start commissions too high. Don't start paying professionals too high because if they become good, they're going to hit a ceiling really fast and you won't be able to afford them. So it's easier if you're starting a new professional to look at your numbers and see really how much you can allocate because the biggest portion of your cost of goods sold is going to be your labor. So after you pay all of this, you set your goals, you're going to look at your income. And now, if you don't have your numbers, you know your goals. Less than 50% for cost of goods sold, maybe less than 38% for fixed expenses. So we can try 7 to 8% of profit, or the more, the better, right? Now, in order to keep track of everything that's going on in your business, I think a big portion of the work is administrative, right? Answering phones, scheduling clients, keeping track of numbers. So if you hire a front desk, as you can see, that's about 15% of salaries and wages. So let's really try to make use of that workforce. Your front desk could be doing so much more. They could be scheduling appointments, doing a little marketing for you, making sure that no client leaves without scheduling their next appointment. I can't tell you guys how many times I visit places, beauty places, and they don't schedule your next appointment. If your client's not ready to schedule their next appointment, at least put a reminder. Okay, but can I remind you in 3 months? Because it costs you a lot of time. You are in the recurring business. Every person that leaves your spa or your salon without booking an appointment, you're going to lose money trying to get them back, either through marketing, through time that you're paying your front desk. You're not getting a front desk in Massachusetts for less than $15 an hour. So think about this. If it takes them 1 hour chasing after clients that did not schedule an appointment, instead of booking an appointment in 3 minutes when the client was leaving, and that's happening every day, in a year you're losing about $3,900 just in time that you're paying. And that's in the lower end because it's hard to find a front desk for $15 an hour. So once you get a front desk, get a good front desk system in place. They book an appointment for every client that leaves. They create detailed notes for client profile. They collect. People can call your salon or your spa to ask if you sell spaceship. Don't give them any information without asking them for their name, phone number, and email, and enter their information somewhere because maybe they want to buy a spaceship today, but tomorrow they may want to do their hair. If you save their contact information, that's a lead. That's someone that you can send a promo to. You never know. Maybe they want to do their hair in 3 months, in 4 months, in 6 months. So it's very important that you always collect contact information. Another piece of advice, we do business valuations sometimes when people want to sell their businesses. If you have a list of contacts that is complete, address, phone number, email, that's also a portion of your business that costs money. People will pay for a list of clients. So not recording. I can't tell you how many times I call places and I say, do you offer this? And they say no. They don't ask for my name. They don't ask for my number. They don't ask for my email. I could be doing business with them. Maybe I need that right now, but next month I need a facial, but they never got my information and they lost a potential lead. Now they're spending all this time in marketing trying to get a lead, but they could have gotten one for free if they had just done their homework. So if you have a front desk, make sure they're doing that. Also follow up. If a client missed an appointment, if a client, another thing too that it actually happened to me a few days ago, you need to understand what the lifetime value of a client is. Spas, hair salons, if a client missed an appointment for the first time, you could have a deposit that you charge them, but you also need to understand if you make clients upset, you are in the recurring business. If they do a facial every month, like I had a problem with a makeup artist, I had an event last Saturday and the event canceled, so I had to cancel my schedule with her, and she charged me a full fee. I never canceled in my life. I've never been to that beauty place. I'm never going back. So let's say I was a client that could be making her 255 times in a year. She could be making $1,200 with me for a year because of $150 that she would not let go. She lost the client. So be cautious about how you have a cancellation policy. Yes, it's very frustrating when a client cancels, but when you are in the recurring business, you can't think about today. You have to think about the future. Is it worth it for you to lose a client forever over one missed appointment? So the normal rule that I like to give clients is if a client cancels for the first time, inform them of the cancellation fee, analyze if it was a legit thing, don't charge them. They're going to be so grateful that you did not charge them, but they're also going to be informed they can't get away with that in the future. If they do it a second time, charge them. And if they do it in a third time, that's when you don't want them in your schedule because they really disrespected your time. But I can't tell you guys how many times I've seen people lose clients, faithful clients, because their policy is so strict that they're not really looking at the lifetime value of that client. So keep that in mind. I know how frustrating cancellations can be, but don't let your front desk be too harsh with that. Then I always like to tell clients have a CRM strategy. One of the main problems in the beauty industry is when a client gets in contact with you guys, they go straight into your scheduling or they don't go anywhere. You have to have something. I love using a software called Airtable. It's a place where if they're not ready to book, so if they were looking for, oh, I want to buy flowers, right? Yeah, they're not going to be for you yet, but maybe you got their name, their phone number, their email, and then you can have a spot with these potential future clients and you're trying to contact them, right? And you have a system for that. That's really important because if you can contact people in a CRM, when you have gaps in your schedule, your front desk has a place that she could go with potential new clients. If people only get registered in your business when they make an appointment, you're losing new leads. So think about a place. It could be a spreadsheet, it could be a piece of paper. If people call you and the only time you record them is when they book an appointment, you're losing people. So that's what we call a CRM strategy or a client relationship strategy. I think CRM should be named lead relationship strategy because they sometimes they're not even a client yet, but a lot of people lose money right here. Another thing that I think you guys have to be aware is doing upsell for clients and for new leads. For example, maybe you have a client scheduled for a hair appointment. They were a lead, they went through your CRM, now they're a client, right? Remember to maybe offer other things. Maybe you had a cancellation and you could do a treatment. Sending a message ahead of time is perfect. Hey, Callie, you are in our schedule today. I had an additional 10 minutes and I think you could benefit from our new hair treatment. Would you like me to add that on? It's going to be an additional $25. That helps so much because then you can extend that appointment, fill an appointment gap, make your client prepare for a change. I mean, I don't think it's very convenient to make all the changes while our client is in the chair. You tend to forget as well. So your front desk when they are properly utilizing their time, they're doing all of this. They're booking appointment, they're reviewing your CRM, they're asking for reviews for you, they're doing remarketing, they're offering other services to current clients, or they're sending seasonal treatments, offers to new leads, to people that you haven't seen in a long time. So you never, one of the things you should always remember is it's too expensive for a front desk to sit around and wait for calls. They should be doing a lot more for your business, and they can do. They may not want to do in the beginning, but don't give up on hiring someone and insisting, hey, I have a system here. Can you help me with this? And remember, this is not going to come naturally. People are always going to want to stay in their comfort zone. Explain to them how important it is for you. I really need your help with this. If you put it in very clear terms, this is what you do. For front desk, I always like to have a schedule, right? From 9 to 10, in between calls, you're doing your CRM. From 10 to 12, before you go to lunch, you're checking next day for up sales. From 2 to 3, you're doing recalls, see if we have clients that missed appointments. If you set a schedule for them, they're probably going to be happier, because sometimes it can get boring. But you have to do that from the beginning, because if they set into, all I do is answer phone calls, and then later on you want to give them all these things, they may be frustrated. All right, so another thing is you have to be aware with your marketing spending. So as you could see on the benchmark, we want to spend about 2% in marketing, because a lot of things that we do in marketing, we want to keep it very low cost. So when you're thinking about a marketing strategy, there are 4 things that you really should be doing. The number one is word of mouth. Like very, very simple things. People leave your business, they should be leaving your business with something to refer to their friends. And remember something, people forget. So if you give me a card, one thing I always tell my clients is maybe do like a little business card on one side and a gift card on the back that people can give to their friends and family. But if you give me that card, I am sorry, I have ADHD. I'm probably going to throw that away or forget it somewhere. But if you attach a piece of candy to that, like a little chocolate bar, and all of a sudden you're giving me a gift and a reminder to help your business, this is going to go so much further. So marketing is the game of attention. I always tell the story of this. So I don't know if you guys know this, but the biggest lumber exporter in the world is a Brazilian, right? And the biggest buyer is this business owner from China. And the story of how they met each other and how big they became has to do with this Brazilian guy was sitting at home completely broke, and he got a fax in Brazil in Chinese. He had nothing to do. He was losing custody of his daughter, and he was like, you know what? I'm going to translate this. This could be something. When he translated the fax, it was another broke guy in China who had the idea that he could export wood and lumber, right? So he tried his luck, but he got the phone number for the fax wrong. But this guy took the opportunity and said, you know what? I'm going to find out how to do this, and I'm going to sell lumber to this Chinese guy. I'm going to see where this goes. Making a long story shorter, they became partners. They kind of opened this new venture together. But the Chinese guy really was trying to get his face into the Chinese market. And there were a lot of big people buying wood in China. So what they did is the Chinese business owner had this wonderful idea. He said, what if we brought Indians, like full dressed on Brazilian Indians, to the airport in China? Because, you know, Indians represent the forest and they wanted to do really sustainable exporting. And the Brazilians said, you are insane. Like, how are we going to transport people in Indian gear to China? But they did that. And that changed their business forever, because it was all over Chinese media. People in the airport want to take pictures with these beautiful Indians from Brazil. But that's the game of marketing. Marketing is a game of attention. You need to make sure that people see what you're doing. For example, never give a business card with some sort of gift. It could be one part of your business card is a $10 off a service. Or I always tell people use food. Get a bunch of candy, clip on your cards. If you're asking for a review, I think Amanda uses that strategy in her salon because I think we helped her with her business plan. She will give clients water, coffee, juice, cookie, and give a review card and ask for a review right then and there. Because as you are calling their attention to something, just like this Chinese business owner did, you are helping them memorize, stop what they're doing, stop their attention, and do something that you need them to do for you. And that's very important. So, word of mouth marketing is going to be your biggest source of clients. I can't emphasize enough because I feel like with digital marketing, everybody's running around and all they want to do is paid ads and social media and digital marketing. But before you get there, you're missing out. A lot of your clients have friends. Try to make a very good strategy. For example, have you done any advertising to business around your area? You may have a lot of people, a lot of companies around your area. Grab a box of cookies, put a bunch of business cards in there, some gift cards, and bring to local business in your area, especially business that people have lunchtime. They could be filling in those empty slots and helping your business in the long run. Then, after you do that, yes, do some social media posting. You can do some paid ads. You can do some local networking, some local marketing, but don't forget word of mouth. Just to give you guys an idea, when you get a referral from someone's friend, like if I send my friend to a hair salon, there's 86% of chances that that person is going to become a client. When you get a client from paid ads or social media, there's 20% of chance that they will convert into a client. So when you invest in word of mouth, traditional organic marketing, you're investing in faster sales for your business. So do a little bit of everything, but do not forget about the biggest source of clients for your business. And then why did we go into the profit and loss? Because that's how you price. So when you're pricing your services, that's how you know if you're doing the right price or not. And then I want to show you guys the spreadsheet that after we finish, you guys are going to be able to get a link to it. And this is the spreadsheet that you're going to utilize because everything you see here on your pizza, the secret for making a profit is pricing things correctly. If you're not pricing correctly, you're not going to get a profit. So before you set a price, run your numbers. And this spreadsheet is going to help you do that. So I'm going to give you an example here, right? Let's say you charge for hair treatment $150, right? Are you making a profit here or not? You need to find out. You need to run numbers. How do you know if you're making a profit on a service? How do you know you're pricing correctly? You can't just look at the market because maybe you're comparing your price. Like I'll give you guys an example. Somerville is so big. You could have a spa in Davis Square, or you could have a spa in another area of Somerville, and rent could be completely different. So you can't price according to market only. You have to look at your expenses. And one thing is, you guys are very good at service material. You know how much you're spending. Stylist commission. Maybe I pay 40%. Maybe I pay 45%. You can set it here. You make a big miscalculation when it comes to overhead because you're thinking, how can I allocate something for my rent, for my accountant? In order to do that, you're going to have to break it down in percentages. So I made this spreadsheet on the side here where you can where you can find out the percentage for your overhead. So all you have to do is add how much income you made the previous year. So let's say you made $150,000 last year, which is about 12,500 monthly. Enter your expenses here, and we're going to be able to find out how much your overhead should be. So you see how it's giving us 15% overhead? So now the calculator is already connected there. It's calculating that 20%, meaning 15%. Every time you price something, you're losing that slice of pizza to overhead. You need to understand that, because I can't tell you guys how many times I see people think they made a profit, but they forgot about overhead and taxes. I even put about 15% for taxes just to be safe. Or I think in this example, it's about, I think we put percentage, 1%. Actually, we could be, yeah, I do 15% of profit for taxes. So in this example, you allocate a little bit for your taxes, a little bit for your overhead. You find out exactly how much profit you're doing before, and a little bit of an estimation after taxes. Now you know, okay, I'm making 25% profit on this service. It's a great price. But if you had something like this, or something like, let me do $50, like this, where you're making only 8%, maybe that's too low. And then you could increase your price so you know how much profit you're making. You want to stay away from having negative profit. So if you have any products you're selling, any services you're providing, and you're not getting a profit here, you're probably not getting a profit at all. So it's very important. I hope this spreadsheet helps you guys just tie everything together, price like a pro, and make sure that you're not losing money with your business. I think that's my final message for today. I don't know if you guys have any questions before we go. And I think later on, I think Kelly's gonna send the spreadsheets. And if you guys need any other resources, just let me know. Did we have any questions? Yes. Okay. I will send that over for everyone. The spreadsheet.
Yeah, Tatiana, I saw that you joined a little bit later, so you probably only got some of the presentation. Did you have any questions or anything for Fernanda? Or if anyone has any like explicit questions on any part of what she just talked about?
Tiana said no questions on the chat.
Does anyone else have any questions? No questions. Okay. If there's no questions, feel free to log off. We really appreciate, and that's totally fine, Tatiana. I can send you the recording of this session and the presentation along with the spreadsheet. It was all very clear, very understandable, so you can review it afterwards. But thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.